Hello, and welcome to Transana screencast on importing spreadsheet data. This feature is available in the professional and multi-user versions of Transana, starting with release 3.10. This screencast uses Transana 3.20, which includes a number of improvements to the spreadsheet data import process. For this screencast, we will demonstrate importing a small sample data file collected using a popular online survey tool. Before starting Transana, we recommend editing your data file to shorten your question prompts to no longer than perhaps 40 or 50 characters if possible. For example, I'll shorten the question, how often do you use the following feature working with video data, to just video data. This makes it easier to work with the data once it has been imported. Once we've edited all of our prompts, we need to save the data in a format that Transana can import. In Excel, we choose File, Save As, and we select the Save As type of Unicode text, *.txt, so that characters outside of the standard English character set are saved and imported correctly. If your data contains only those characters used in English and some common Western European languages, the CSV, separated values format will also work well. Be careful, however, as other very similar sounding options may be more difficult to import correctly because you don't always know what character encoding was used when saving a data file. When we import spreadsheet data into Transana, Transana will create a separate text document for each participant in our survey and a separate collection for each survey question. Let's start by creating a library called Transana Survey 1. Now we right-click that library and choose Import Spreadsheet Data. This opens the Spreadsheet Data Import tool that will guide us through the import process. On the first page, we select the data file to be imported. At this time, Transana can import comma-separated values files and tab-delimited text files, so if you have a file in Excel format, you'll need to export it as demonstrated earlier. If you have problems importing data at this stage in the process, you may want to press the Help button here for more details about file formats, converting Excel files, and file encoding issues. These details are beyond the scope of this screencast. Note that for the tab-delimited text file I selected, Transana defaults to UTF-16 file encoding, as that's the format that Excel uses for its Unicode text data export. That's the correct encoding for this file, so I'll press the Next button. In some cases, spreadsheet data is organized by rows, while other times it's organized by columns. The data orientation page is asking you to identify whether the prompts of your survey appear in the first row or the first column of the data table. We can clearly see that the first row contains our survey questions, while the first column contains the responses from all of our participants to that first question. Therefore, we'll check this box to indicate that the prompts in this file are in the first row. Now we'll press the Next button. The next page controls how data is imported into Transana. At the top, we select a unique participant identifier. We can select any of our survey prompts as the participant identifier, or we can have Transana create one. If you select one of your survey items, be sure that the response will be unique for each participant. Our example data does not have a field we could use as a unique identifier, so we'll have Transana create one for us. Then we need to indicate which survey items we want to include or exclude during the import. We don't really need to see the values for the release number or version items in our data because we're going to handle those in a different way later. So let's remove those from the list. Now we can press the Next button. We can now select what questions we want for auto-coding in our documents and quotes. Here, we might select prompts for which there are limited categorical user selections, but would probably not select survey items where the participants would enter free text in response. In this case, we will select the release number, the version, and several items that specify what data types are used. Finally, we press the Finish button and Transana proceeds to import our data. Please note that this import can take a while for files with a lot of participants and a lot of questions per participant. We can see that Transana is creating a number of documents in our library, one for each of the respondents in our data set. If we were to open one of those documents, we could see that it contains each of our question prompts and the user's response to that prompt. We can also see that Transana is creating a collection for our survey data, with nested collections for each of the questions in the survey. Within those nested collections are quotes which contain each participant's response for each question. So Transana's already done some of the work for us. We can also see that Transana is creating a keyword group called autocode with keywords for each of the prompt and response pairs for the items we selected for autocoding. Those codes are assigned to the documents Transana creates during the import process as default codes, and they're applied to each of the quotes created in our collections. So Transana does at least a little bit of initial coding for us. Now that the import is complete, let's take a look at some of the data items that I talked about. We'll go to our library and open the document for the first participant. And here we see the prompts and the responses. We'll go down to our collection and we'll open the collection for the first question. We can see that each participant has their response to the first question listed here. I'll load that quote and we see that it is just the question and the response for the first participant. If we look at the coding, we can see that it's been auto-coded for this participant's response to the release, still image data, text-only data, version, and video data prompts that we selected for autocoding. And here we see the full list of codes that Transana created. We notice that it might be nice to clean up these codes a little bit as we appear to have multiple versions of some of the items that we want coded. We can do that by simply renaming codes to merge different versions that should be the same code. Now we can begin the qualitative coding process with the data that we've imported from the spreadsheet data file as Transana has brought it in to our database.